Granted.
Hello and welcome to Candid and Open, the podcast that exposes different topics that are related to social life, governmental policies, and many more. Candid and Open is created as a project for our public speaking class. So here, in this Candid and Open podcast, you will notice projects with varied topics. And the important things also knowledge about our life that we are going through right now. And find out more about us and our personal thoughts in this podcast. Hope you enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, welcome to Candid and Open Talk Show, a talk show that exposes different topics that are related to social life, governmental policies, and many more. So, during today's talk show, we are going to thoroughly discuss about being literate in technology or internet, which the most of people are interested in. I'm Winda Natalia.
My name is Henry.
So, we're going to discuss all about technology. Well, technology has changed my life a lot. At first, I didn't have a clue about cell phone, internet, or even online communication. That's why I spent my adolescence playing with my friends. And when it came to study, I had to wait until the teacher explained about something I was curious about. And that was quite difficult for me to solve my everyday task given by the teacher. I would like to share a slight experience related to technology. So, I was once at a computer class, and there we are required to operate the computer, especially using Microsoft Excel. So, when my friends were busy doing the task, I just did nothing, and yes, I felt blue as I had no experience on it. Long story short, when I came back home, I cried to my mom and then I said, Mom, I really had computer class. That was terrifying. Exactly.
Well, for me, it was a different time. I actually experienced this kind of online thing or being literate about technology stuff is during my high school year. That's when we're starting to use computer a lot and even using Zoom or Google Meeting. Well, it's not really Zoom or Google Meeting, but Skype to be better one. And it was an interesting way to learn using technology a lot, especially when you are curious or even confused with subject that you learn in school or even when you talk with your friend. You can just use the internet to search it up. Or even when you are in traffic jam or try to avoid one, you can just search up in the internet about traffic jam. And immediately you can learn where is the traffic jam happening or a way to avoid the traffic jam, which is very convenient to many people, especially for someone who are quite busy during the hours of working. Well, if I may put it, especially after reading from a source from UNESCO, that it was quite jarring and very dangerous for Indonesian, to be honest. That actually there is only 0.001% from 1,000 people who take the questionnaire, that at least only one person is an avid reader. It may be look nice, but actually it's not because it's going to be more worse, especially after a research from Connecticut University have told us that Indonesia is below Thailand and above Botswana in reading, which is actually more jarring, especially if we look at another research from RareSocial.sg that there are at least 132.7 million, which actually 51% of Indonesian are internet active user, which is actually very jarring and very saddening for many people that as a technology progress, People become less reader. Even though it was people prefer using ebook, it's still not a good reason to avoid not reading stuff because by doing ebook a lot, you pretty much skip a lot stuff even for offline one, which is actually this is my personal answer for this one.
Well, for me personally, I can say that Indonesia's percentage literacy is not good enough. I do believe we still can improve to be better by engaging students' reading interest. However, we have to bear in mind that reading interest is strongly influenced by the surrounding environment. Therefore, reading interest needs to be instilled and fostered since they were a child. In other words, we have to help students finding their interest on reading. I mean, some of them might like the fictional ones like books, novels, or else, and some might love the non-fictional ones like history, physics, and so on. Once again, we have to know that literacy is a person's ability and skill in reading, writing, speaking, counting, and even solving problems in daily life. For that reason, habituation is the right way to increase someone's interest in reading. Last but not least, we also have to know that students' reading interest is closely related to students' awareness to read. So if the students are aware of reading something that will surely increase their knowledge, I'm positive their interest in reading will also increase. Honestly, I was a fan of physical books at first because I love to have a collection on my shelf. I love the smell, especially the new ones. It's like, something relaxing to me. However, since I have my own cell phone and my friends used to read online books, I felt a bit curious and ended up trying to read ebooks as well. At first, I was not into it because I was not used to. The reason was because I cannot highlight any lines I want, and also I cannot add notes as well. However, as time goes by, as I kept trying to read ebooks, I've begun to love them very much. What I loved the most about it was the price. Ebooks are very affordable so that everyone can have it easily. Yet the physical books, they are quite expensive for some people to buy. That's why I started to assume that reading ebooks are more efficient for me, especially when I'm broke. For your information, I'm not the kind of person who will definitely read the books completely and then jump to the next one, because that depends on my mood. So if the topic is interesting, I might stick to it. But if it requires something that like brainstorm me, I'm sorry to say I will definitely skip it because I prefer reading different types of books. What's next? When traveling, ebooks always be on my list because I cannot carry much book with me if I go outside. So the point is, I love physical books, but ebooks are more affordable for me, and that's probably the reason why I've started liking it.
Well, for me at least, actually it's both because both have a very interesting way and negative way. Let me talk. The first one is the normal book, or we can call it offline if you want to. Like I prefer the regular book because it's much more easier for me, especially I'm quite an avid reader. I like to collect an interesting and many book. Like example one, I like collecting a book about fiction, which is actually have a very interesting cover and even let's just say it art in the book, which is why sometimes I prefer regular book while online book like ebook. I actually very depend on what kind of book that I can read. Maybe a book in about Japanese literature, maybe I can read ebook one because it's quite available and much more easier because the regular book is in Japanese, which why I prefer online, already translated and much more easier to read and even carry. but both have more problems too. Like for example, a regular book have a limited edition, which is very expensive and very hard to get. While online book or ebooks, the problem is that you need very depend on electricity or even subscription based type of transaction, which is quite annoying for me. But that's my reason for why I prefer both book, ebooks and regular books. Well, to be honest, it's actually very dependent on the student. We cannot just say everyone is best on online or even best only on offline. It depends on the situation. Let's take example one. Example one is that offline student who learn offline much more have easier time to ask question and doesn't need to look around or even asking online one. But the problem is that sometimes the teacher or even the book that I read doesn't have the information that they need. While online one, you can search everything, but the problem is the distraction. Many of us like to do something while doing online classes or even like online meeting, which is why it was quite, let's just say, neutral about it. So I prefer actually the answer is neutral because everything is depend on the student.
Well, as a matter of fact, there are several things that makes online learning hampered, such as unstable network, because not all places have a good and stable signal that will surely cause obstacles. Then, based on my experience, I do find students cannot pay attention to the teacher as there are plenty of distractions. In addition, we can we can just conclude that online learning does not guarantee that all students are involved because some of them might not have gadgets or maybe they are technophobes. That's why I favor in-person instruction over online instruction because it will be more effective and efficient despite being a little more unconventional. The pros and cons, right? Well, the pros and cons are varied as technology is part of our lives. Believe it or not, using technology can excite young students. Nowadays, it is not uncommon for many school-aged children to have first encountered technological devices as toddlers. As such, students tend to associate tablets or even laptop or other similar devices with fun and excitement. Consequently, technology in the classroom not only helps to harness attention and excitement, but invigorates traditional learning. Next, technology encourages spontaneous learning, which means technology provides students with easy to access information, accelerated learning, and fun opportunities for them to practice what they have learned.
Well, I think it's my turn. The pro and the cons of the technology is quite different. If we see the pro, let's take example of USA. USA have the best place to put technology in there. There's a good internet. There is so many spare parts to repair, which is actually a very good way when you use technology. But if we look at the con, let's take Argentina. Argentina may be a very advanced country for a certain area, but there's many parts that were needed to repair everything. Let's just say you want to repair a laptop. That's probably going to cost a lot, especially when you want to repair an Apple product, which actually become more and more problems. Which is why the pro and cons is very depend on the country where you are live. In here, Indonesia, it depend too. If you use like a laptop or camera that is actually brand like Canon or even Asus, it's much more cheaper to repair. And student who doesn't have gadget can easily get one if they see much a good one, like maybe in a black market or even a regular market. They have more easy access to almost everything. However, the cost probably will be Apple products that are in Indonesia right now. It was very expensive, reaching to millions of rupiah, giving more and more problem to a certain student unless the student is rich or maybe have a better access to reaching Apple product. Which is why this is my pro and cons about technology.
Yeah. Okay, first and foremost, we have to know that learning to read and write are important, but being digitally literate is equally important as the world shifts and settles into the digital age. So, in this 5.0 industry, technology will conquer the world and everyone has to be eligible to be in this era. So here, we have to set in our mind, it will be essential if we cultivate our digital skills, our soft skills, and our social skills. We need to excel by creating a balance through grounded experiences and one-on-one interactions.
Well, I think mine will be actually much more simple one, which is actually learn how to discipline yourself and learn how to behave. Those two things are more important one. Because if you don't learn how to discipline yourself when there is no technology or there is a technology, you cannot do anything. It's going to be hard for yourself to learn or even just looking for information. And even behaving is also important because when you're with the technology or you see it, it's better you behave around it because some people may need technology right now or even not liking the technology that we're using right now. Which is why, for me, it's better to learn how to discipline yourself and how to behave around the technology that you are using right now. That's all I think I can think because those two are the most important part, especially for myself. Well, in conclusion, we have learned that technology is very important, especially to be illiterate in technology of right now and digital platform. We can see right now that even from old to young people, that technology is very important. Especially we need to discipline ourselves and behave around the technology that we're having right now. It may be useful for us, yes, it is, but also can be a negative if we do not learn to behave or learn to discipline ourselves. If I may, I want to quote something from George Soros. Technology is not just a tool, but it's also a voice for a listener, for a learner that may not have it before. This is the quote from George Soros that I know right now.
Okay, so this is the end of our talk show. Thank you so much for watching this episode. And if you like, could you please like, comment, and subscribe this channel so that you won't miss the latest episodes. Bye.
Bye.
Stay
Be knowledgeable.
knowledgeable.